Going Diane from Keswick Village, this is the Rorschach Arctic Update from the 20th of May, 2025. A quick summary of what's going down north of the Arctic Circle. Let's kick things off in Russia, where the biggest Arctic fleet of ships in the world is about to get even bigger. On Wednesday, the 14th, the Russian government published a new strategy for its shipbuilding program, which outlined the government's intention to invest over $6 billion into domestic shipbuilding over the next 10 years. The plan calls for the construction of 130 ice-class vessels, including oil and gas tankers, to further develop Russia's Arctic energy industry. The strategy comes after years of international sanctions preventing many countries from working with Russia, so now the country intends to build a massive new fleet and become immune to further sanctions. That hasn't stopped international sanctions against Russia, though. On Thursday, the 15th, the Northern European news agency, the Barents Observer, wrote that the EU and UK have adopted another round of sanctions against Russia and its shadow fleet, the illegal vessels that sell Russian goods around the world to evade policing. Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister, called this the largest round of sanctions the UK has ever imposed, targeting almost 100 Russian ships and tankers, many of which are ice-class vessels operating in the Arctic. Starmer noted that the sanctioned vessels have sold cargo worth $24 billion since the beginning of 2024. So the new sanctions should deal a significant blow to Russia's illegal fleet and economic ambitions. Shadow vessels aren't the only unwelcome thing in Arctic waters. Mercury pollution is on the rise, and the mystery behind it may finally be solved. On Thursday, the 15th, researchers from the University of Connecticut published a study in Science Advances investigating toxic mercury levels in the Arctic Ocean. The study found that mercury is reaching the region from two major sources, the atmosphere and the deep sea. While atmospheric mercury has long been known, the research revealed that changes in ocean currents are pushing a deep-sea mercury compound to the surface. There, it transforms into a more toxic form that can either enter marine food chains or be absorbed into the atmosphere. Both pathways eventually carry mercury north, where it settles in the Arctic. Now that this mystery is solved, the next step is finding a way to prevent the problem from getting even worse. Residents of the Arctic are trying to get rid of mercury, but other metals are incredibly valuable. Greenland is a vast, untapped source of rare earth metals that countries across the world have been trying to access. On Thursday, the 15th, Vivian Motzfeldt, Greenland's foreign prime minister, gave an interview with Politico where she revealed her country is eager to deepen connections with the EU over the US or China due to security concerns, and is willing to build new partnerships around critical minerals and energy with the EU. With Donald Trump continuing to declare his intention to take control of Greenland, this interview shows the country sees its future as an independent one. Greenland isn't the only nation building connections internationally. On Thursday, the 15th, Norway became the 55th signatory nation of the Artemis Accords at a ceremony at the Norwegian Space Agency in Oslo. In a previous show, we reported that Norway officially became a space nation in April, when the Andøya spaceport in the northern part of the country held its first commercial space launch. The Artemis Accords were established in 2020 and set forth principles for sustainable space activities, including transparency and the peaceful use of outer space. With this signing, Norway is making its intention to become a long-term space nation clear, and Arctic Norway will be seeing much more space activity in the future. While cooperation between Arctic nations is desirable, Canada's Arctic is preparing for conflict. On Thursday, the 15th, Canadian broadcaster CBC spoke with Steve Boivin, Canada's military operations commander, who revealed that the country is significantly expanding its military presence in the Arctic. Currently, Canada's military maintains forces in the region for about 6 months of the year, avoiding the harsh winter season. But with rising fears of northern conflict, the country now plans to maintain an active military presence for over 10 months annually. To support this expansion, Boivin confirmed that the federal government has allocated an additional $300 million to the defense budget. This move signals Canada's growing commitment to the Arctic, ensuring the nation is prepared to defend its northern territories year-round if needed. Military defense is important to Canada, but cultural defense is equally important to the country's Indigenous communities. On Wednesday, the 14th, Nunavut Tugnavik, Inc., the organization that represents the Inuit communities in the Nunavut region, announced that they have received about $10 million in federal funding to support Indigenous languages. 3 other Inuit organizations have received federal funding too, representing all of the Inuit communities across northern Canada. There are many Inuit languages, and this funding aims to give opportunities for educating children and adults, creating new books, films, and music, and documenting languages to ensure they survive in the long term. Over the border in Alaska, there's some hope for the state's bear population. On Monday, the 12th, a state judge ordered the immediate halt of a controversial bear hunting program run by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. The program had killed 11 bears over the weekend. Despite being ruled illegal in 2022, officials had relaunched the cull to protect struggling caribou herds, some of which have been declined by up to 90% in 30 years. However, critics of the cull argued that climate change, not bears, is the real threat to caribou, and that bears are essential for maintaining a healthy ecosystem. Hunting has stopped in Alaska, but is unexpectedly restarting in Iceland. In April, we reported that Iceland's only active whale hunting company announced they would not operate in 2025, which animal protection groups considered a win for whale protection. But with a twist, the fishing company Toltangi announced on Friday, the 16th, that they will hunt minke whales this summer in Iceland's West Fjords. Toltangi has held a whaling license for many years, but since 2020, the company has only hunted a single whale. With the company seeming to no longer actively continue whaling, however, the company stated that the minke whale populations growing in Iceland, they see an opportunity to resume the whale hunt. To read more about the controversial history of whaling in Iceland, take a look at the link in the show notes. Most Icelanders may be too distracted by earthquakes to worry about whaling news. On Friday, the 16th, national broadcaster RUV reported that the Civil Protection Committee has urged residents and businesses in the capital to prepare for a potential new wave of volcanic activity. Since November 2023, the southern town of Grindavik has experienced repeated eruptions, which subsided in April. Now, geologists from the Met Office warn that volcanic unrest may be shifting toward Reykjavik, home to 2/3 of Iceland's population. The report noted that when one volcanic system in the region activates, it often triggers nearby systems as well. If history repeats itself, Reykjavik could face a chain of eruptions and earthquakes, causing one of the most serious volcanic threats in Iceland's modern history. Finally, over to Sweden, where long overdue amends were made with the Sami community. On Saturday, the 17th, a funeral ceremony was held in the northern city of Luleå for the remains of 2 Sami men whose bodies were exhumed by Lund University in 1875 and used for outdated racial anatomy studies for many years. The Sami Association of the Lulboden region requested that the 2 men be allowed to return home to northern Sweden and be laid to rest, which Lund University agreed to. Even though the Sami Association is happy to have settled this matter, Jonathan Sageland, the chairman, told news outlet SVT on the 17th that they received no support from local or national government and that the historic mistreatment of Sami people remains an open wound. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Did you know that we do lots of other updates? We've got country updates and non-country updates, including the Arctic update, the multilateral update, and the ocean update. Check the full list with the link in the show notes. Hade!